alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Nothing for it. Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
Get to the chopper!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I see dead people.
Milk was a bad choice.
Hello and welcome to How to Be a Movie Snob. By the way, I've been listening to our past episodes, and I definitely say how to be a film snob about 50% of the time.
It's not consistent.
Not consistent. Folks, we have a doozy today. I don't even know where we're going to go with it, but it's such a doozy and so well known that we're just going to go hot takes out of the guns.
The well-known doozy.
Maybe the most well-knownest. No, that's in
Most favoritist.
Most favoritist. Most accessible? All right, so we're just going to go rattle the gun with our introductions. We're going to give our hot take of the movie. And the movie we are speaking of is our first musical, arguably the best musical of time, No, just kidding. Singing in the Rain. Mm-hmm. The one, the only. Gene Kelly. Singin. Not just Sing in the Rain.
There's no G.
No G. It really is? No G?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
No.
Oh, really?
Singin'
but it's got the apostrophe, though. That's very cool. Okay, Singin' in the Rain is our most overrated movie we've watched, and it's the least snobby movie we've watched all year. That's my take.
Coming from Seth.
Ooh-ah, coming in hot.
And this is Pat, coming from a rainy day in Bothell, Washington. So it felt appropriate.
That's a Bothell, not a brothel in Washington. For all those folks at home.
I would say this is a movie musical for people who don't like good music. That's my hot take.
That's a hot one. Hot dog. Ugh.
And I can't fully stand behind it, but that's my hot take.
No, I like it's hot though. It's hot.
Man,
it's
I can't
hot.
wait for the discussion here.
It's gonna be good.
I'm Mariah, and for me, this is the best musical of all time.
Hot take.
Minus a couple of modern dance numbers, I can tell you.
They all had them back then. I blame you, Ziegfeld presents.
Sure.
Ziegfeld. Anyways, we'll get to that.
Siegfried and Roy?
Siegfried and Roy. We'll get there in a second. All right. So this one is a widely known, rarely talked about in the snobby circles, I would dare say. But
it is. You see a clip from it in every Oscar ceremony of all time, right? It is synonymous with cinema.
Okay, I'm doing hot take number 2.
It is iconic.
I'm breaking rules right now. Singing in the Rain is a less good A Star is Born.
Disagree.
There you go. That's my hot take. Okay.
Which Star is Born are we talking about?
All of them.
Nobody dies in this movie.
Single one.
Not a lot of discussion about alcoholism either.
But A Star is Born in the movie.
So
that's the only similarity.
Well, yeah, I would say, and the artist is also A Star is Born as well. They're all the same movie. Just some of them have happier endings than others.
Yeah.
Well, moving on, since this, I've already given away the plot. Bwah, bwah. Minus the alcohol and death at the end. Time to go to the Summarizer. Brought to you by no one. But we'll work on that. We're going to get a sponsor soon for the Summarizer.
Any minute now.
Mariah.
The lines are open, guys. This movie takes place in 1952, starring Gene Kelly, directed by Gene Kelly and friends.
It doesn't take place in 1952.
It was made in 1952.
Well, but it also takes place. It's
No, it's like right at the silent era. So it's like 1930s, 2930s, because it's a jazz
Well,
singer.
some of the musical numbers are 1952.
29.
I know.
Well, anyway, sorry. Error.
The first discussion.
Well,
First-
1927. Jazz Singer is 1927.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the movie.
Yes, this takes place in
From-
the transition from the silent to the talkies. And because the jazz singer is so popular, they decide right before releasing their not so lovely silent
The
movie.
Dueling Cavalier.
The Dueling Cavalier.
such a great
They
thing.
better add some talking to it. Sadly, the leading lady doesn't have the most pleasing voice. So they have to, not only do they get someone else to speak for her, they turn it to a musical, and many more musical numbers happen in the process of getting this movie out.
Good stuff. Meanwhile, the classic old guy who was in silent films and the new gal who's just in talkies.
40s and 18 to 19 years old
Perfect.
are the ages of these stars.
Much like A Star Is Born.
Similar.
Yeah, just like 20-year age difference. It's fine.
It's totally fine.
Still less...
Physicality wise,
Oh.
he still had everybody.
Oh, for sure.
Whoa, that guy.
Gene Kelly kept it tight.
He did.
My goodness.
All his wardrobe choices too. They're all showing the guns, which is not 1950s.
No.
Yeah, that little rolled up sleeve.
Yeah.
And a high waist
Legit.
to show, he's keeping
Legit.
it. And man, the thing I will give this movie, the physicality is off the hook. Like,
Yeah. They showed
Gene
some
Kelly-
amazing moves.
They did.
Put some
Donald
people in the
O'Connor-
hospital.
Yes, literally. And our leading lady, Debbie Reynolds, also able to hang with these phenomenal dancers.
Kind of.
Well,
Yeah.
After that,
When you're the mom of
enough.
Princess Leia,
Enough.
I mean, obviously you're going to be able to hang.
The future.
The future.
She hadn't
The
had her
Force was
yet.
with her, obviously.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, this is one of those movies, probably like most people, you've seen certainly Singin' in the Rain sequence,
Oh,
or
for
some
sure.
parts of it. Mm-hmm. And then, honestly, a lot of it to me was like, oh man, I don't really remember this. And the plot of the movie, I had forgotten completely.
Oh, dignity.
We've lost a set.
Always dignity.
Always dignity.
I love
We've
it.
lost a set.
I forgot how funny and tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic this is. And it made me enjoy it more than I even remembered enjoying it. Minus a few musical numbers.
Yeah, I really liked how meta it was. Because I didn't remember that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And when they came out and were all a little obnoxious, at that
Yes.
first premiere, I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh, okay. They're taking the piss a little bit here.
Yeah.
And then it was much more appealing. But then it's like, man, this movie is so bonkers from a story standpoint. It's like, what is this? It's like too meta.
Huh.
And it
Yeah.
lost me a little bit with some of that stuff. But man, again, yeah, they can move the bodies, these people.
It was so accessible is what I always keep thinking about this movie. Every single part of it seemed accessible. Despite some very few misguided haters of the music. It's very it's very fun. I sat down to watch it twice, and every time I sat down, everyone in the house sat down and watched it with me and just enjoyed it. And we all were like, "Oh, I didn't know about that. Oh yeah, I've seen that part, but I don't remember that part." And yeah, I'm just gonna say, guys, this week I've outdone you in my research.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, you ready for this?
That's quite the declaration.
Let's see here.
I
Research team.
just didn't go read stuff or watch stuff. I took a tap dance class this week, folks. That's right. I went and took a tap dance class, and to understand the physicality of what is Gene Kelly. Because, like our leading lady, I have never taken tap or any dance class before, other than like swing dance in high school. So I took tap dance, and it was
for this?
For this movie, and not because I completely just wanted to try tap dance this week.
This wasn't just your dream, and this was the excuse that got you there.
So now this is the new segment is going to be Seth has to do something from every movie.
That would be amazing.
So he's going to have to steal and murder and all kinds of fun stuff.
Really wanted to get a feel for the character.
Yeah. So in Blue Velvet, I've
been hanging out in people's closets lately. Sketchy parts of town.
Hey guys, next
week. And just drinking Heineken nonstop.
All day.
I can't tell you how many times I pretended to be an exterminator this week to get into people's apartments. Just walked around spraying stuff.
For those who haven't listened to last week's episode, you should listen to Blue Velvet to know what the
This might be
we're
the one
talking
time
about.
you do it in order.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So no.
Okay. So how did that go?
It was
and
quite
is there footage?
Enjoyable in the fact that it was like to the beat, and it is very. You do feel, because sports are what I know of physicality. You know, you run, you jump, you kick the ball. But this is thankfully, I also did band because it felt like a nice mix of rhythm but you get this very visceral response when you're hitting things in the right spot.
You're making music
while you're moving. Great. And so one class, I then practiced the next 3 days because I enjoyed it so much. But I thought about Gene Kelly, who literally was like the quarterback of his football team and was like the star athlete in his high school. Like, I could totally see, because wouldn't you see, no offense to Fred Astaire, but he doesn't quite come across as like this athletic, I could play multiple sports.
Right. He wasn't an all around, like this guy could be inserted anywhere.
No. So when I saw Gene Kelly and his body shape, I'm like, you actually have the body shape of an athlete, not the body shape of a dancer, if that makes sense. But because usually when I think about people's like height, weight, it's usually like, you're probably good at this sport or that sport, because that's.
Were you also motivated by the fact that you're the same age that he was when he made this?
Oh, that's even better.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's great. No, but I am now. Now I'm hitting those guys. I gotta leave. I gotta get my tap shoes on right now. I'll see you later.
And the other thing that I was
that was me running away.
I was pretty
sold.
You just wear them all the time now.
That's true.
Excuse me.
I was pretty impressed with and enjoyed the diversion as he was telling the fake story. Well, he was telling the fake story. We were seeing the real story of him coming up through stunt work. Mm-hmm. I loved that. And
yes, so funny. Buster Douglas-esque.
Yeah, he did.
Keaton.
Oh, not again.
Oh. Yeah, we got him again.
Can I answer my fun fact?
Go for it.
Okay. So, Donald O'Connor.
You have to take a drink anytime Seth
Buster
says
Keaton.
The name of the podcast, the name of the actor.
Oh, why is this
Donald O'Connor, who plays the piano player, Cosmo, plays Buster Keaton in the movie Story of Buster Keaton.
No. Well, that's great. He's
the
so
make him
physical.
laugh guy. Yeah, right?
Man, those backflips off the wall.
Make him laugh.
By the way.
That actually, speaking of it, reminded me of Seth. Yeah. Our very own Seth
all the running up the walls and flipping.
At one point in his life, could run on a wall and do a backflip.
Yeah, and the best part was...
a tree.
And he fell through the wall just like I did in high school. So story time, folks.
And playing handsy with the big doll.
Whoa! That doll was consensual.
It's a very forward mannequin-ish thing.
So
why was that doll there? It was like just for fun, I guess.
No, literally, they literally were like, "Hey, what should we do now?" And the guy's like, some gaffer threw it in there, like, "Hey, try some of that," and they just did that.
Yeah,
that's literally what they did. It was so good. But we should talk about how 2 or 3 of these dances were literally just them making them up on the spot, because that's literally what it was.
I want to get into the issues I have with the movie.
Oh,
are
tons.
Obvious when you realize.
Oh, yes.
When you realize the music came first.
Yes.
And
And
then
many
they're
people
like,
had already used Singing in the Rain in
Well,
movies.
And when at the title scroll, it's like based off ideas from the song Singing in the Rain.
Not actually in the movie.
We ran with
as a
this.
reason for making a movie. Like,
Yeah.
boy, I like that song Singing in the Rain. Let's build an entire movie around it. And it's like, yeah,
It's
feels,
probably not the first time or the last time that
It
happened,
feels
though.
like
They
that.
just actually admitted to it.
Well, it reminds me
spent
of
a lot of money.
Fly the
to do it.
Conchords season 1. I mean, the same thing. You know, you just have the songs already. You might as well make a whole season out of it.
Wow.
Okay, so guys,
That's a vignetted show.
let's slow down a little bit. Let's talk about the stories of me rather than the movie. Thank you. Okay, so
Let's get back to
let's
Seth
get back to me, guys. I can't believe this is talking about
Story
me.
time.
Yeah,
and
so
his prep for this podcast.
here we are. I learned to do a backflip off a wall, and then I may have kicked a hole in the wall in the new library at the school, and then again at the new gym of the school. But am I applauded? No.
Once was not enough.
Meanwhile, Donald O'Connor does the exact same thing I do, and he's one of the best dance scenes of all time. I feel like this is unfair. You know what I mean?
Well, then
Yeah.
you should have been recording. That's on you.
That is on me. That would have been way early YouTube, by the way.
But, you know, like Donald O'Connor, you punched a hole in the wall once, and you thought, I'm going to do it again. And he had to do that twice
Oh, yeah.
because the focus was wrong.
It was
Yeah.
wrong.
The first time
He
I
had to
shot it.
completely redo it. And also,
Which you can totally tell because it's like cut and he's just flying through. Is that actually him flying through, by the way? I assumed it was a stuntman.
I think he probably did all of
I
it.
think it's him.
Wow.
I couldn't find anything where it wasn't. That was again, like, the amount of oneers in this movie
No, for sure.
and how long the dance, like, a modern movie generally, not every modern movie, would have cut the crap out of this for those dance sequences.
Oh,
Right.
of the two of them
and
at the
Gene
beginning,
Kelly
and their beginning of
It's
their
like,
career.
no, sweeping back, sweeping forward, like,
Yeah.
no, it's
with
all
the
one
with the
huge
fiddles
shot.
and like throwing their
fiddles.
bows up in the
That's
air.
my
and
favorite
catching
dance.
Them. Like
Better
oh,
than
that's
Make It
so
Laugh.
cool.
Yeah, that one's the best one.
Well,
was
and
good.
that gets into my hot take. This movie is about dancing. It is not about music. Music is there to dance to. Gene Kelly is not a great singer.
Okay, I'll give you that. He's not a bad singer, but he's fine.
He's not a bad singer. He's
a
fine
better
singer.
dancer, actor than singer.
I got a better hot take than all this, and I assume you guys all know this. The whole movie was about them transitioning from silent movies to talkies. This is a silent movie that they re-recorded the sound for later. None of those dance scenes had original tap sounds.
Well, some
None
of
the-
them, because I know that he had a big problem he'd get really irritated having to do it. So I think he was always hopeful that he could get it
the sound?
first time.
Oh.
But there was so many
And-
times
and
when
he
he
did.
had to go.
But
and
there's like
re-tap.
missing taps. Like I
With-
was watching
with
so
Debbie
many
Reynolds.
scenes. Yeah, and Debbie
He
Reynolds
was
didn't even
unhappy
sing
with
it.
Debbie Reynolds' taps. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
And then, by the way, the singing.
The meta-ness
Oh, it's hilarious.
of yes, the whole premise of the movie being we're dubbing a singer.
And they dubbed the
because they can't
singer.
talk.
They dubbed
Yeah.
the
And
singer.
Debbie
And then-
Reynolds didn't do any of that.
And then the talking
And then when
ended up
Debbie
being
Reynolds-
her in the first place.
Yes.
It was so
By the way-
confusing.
So good.
The over like, oh, but
Gene-
not that.
Gene Hagen as Lena Lamont.
Yeah.
Her annoying voice was
So good.
amazing.
So
It was
good. No, she
very
killed
good.
it.
I loved her
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even as evil as she kind of made
Yeah.
out to be, super, like, just that dim-witted. It's very charming in its kind of horrible way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when it was meant to be, Debbie Reynolds dubbing her in the movie, it was just Gene Hagen's normal speaking voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
so weird.
It is weird
It's
that
so
none of
weird
that
how-
actually happened. Yeah. Also, I liked that in the beginning of the movie. I liked the setup in that they didn't let her talk for a very long time.
It was great setup.
So they set it
Yes.
up so well. And then suddenly she's like, what am I, dumb or something?
Yeah. I will sue you.
See you.
Very good.
So good.
A little My Fair Lady action going on.
Yeah. It kind of shocked me I mean, Debbie Reynolds is super charming.
Oh,
But
kind of.
And I thought she did a great job dancing. I mean, compared again to Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor, like very tall order.
Yeah.
You're a 19-year-old.
And
Who's
she's
never
never.
taking
done
multiple
it.
buses,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
multiple buses to get to set, and yeah, like
And she'd been in what, like
Just having
2 movies before that, maybe?
Yep.
And that
yeah,
was
she'd
it?
done some stuff, but like,
Not a lot.
and Gene Kelly was super demanding and kind of a jerk on this movie because he wanted to get kicked out of MGM or some such thing. Anyway, tough gig. But then I thought, like, oh wait, she didn't sing and she didn't even speak some of the parts I thought she was doing.
Yeah, not the
It was
stuff
just
she was
weird, like, I
supposed
was
to be
both
doing. Everything else she did.
I was incredibly impressed, and then like it took some stuff back where I thought, well, that's weird. Why didn't they get someone who could sing?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Like,
I
Well-
found some of the original recordings of Debbie Reynolds singing those parts,
Oh.
which was
Oh.
very.
You
but
did deep
How was it?
dive.
well, it wasn't. I found it by accident, but it was a little pitchy. So like it obviously probably wasn't
Well,
supposed
her
to be
voice
the
wasn't
final.
mature enough to be
Right.
in those, which would make sense
Because
why they would.
it was it was fine, but compared to the voice they use, it doesn't
Right.
compare. But it was still like, she can sing, but she's
Yeah.
not as well polished as she was. By the way, I watched an interview where she's like 90 and talking about Singing in the Rain. She has the same personality as her character in Singing in the Rain
She's so
to the end.
She's awesome.
She was feisty towards the end. I was like, she's hilarious.
And then she just basically was like, okay, I'm going to die today.
Really?
She died the day after Carrie did.
Whoa.
And told her son, I just want to be with Carrie. And then she died that day. Like, she is a very, like, big presence of a person. Was like, nope, I'm done.
yeah.
Wow. Huh.
There's a really cute
Yeah.
documentary of the two of them. It's pretty good.
Yeah, she's great, and she did remind me of a young Carrie Fisher early in the movie, or Carrie Fisher reminded me of young Debbie Reynolds. I guess makes more sense.
Yeah. Both. Yeah.
But I have
sure.
much more screen time with Carrie Fisher than I do with Debbie Reynolds. Sorry, Debbie.
I watched
I'm a
all
Star
of
Wars boy,
I watched-
and Harry Met Sally, and
I watched all of her like Will and Grace stuff when she plays Grace's mom later in life, and I watched Tammy and I watched
Catastrophe, and
Yes. Oh yeah, Catastrophe.
But only one of those two could play the counselor in Austin Powers.
It's true.
That's true.
So getting back to like what the story was, it's pretty bizarre. What was
Why? Okay,
But they made
the
a whole
point
other movie that basically
I said-
repeated it.
I've
They
heard- this
basically
is-
redid this for 2019.
This is the same story as Babylon, as The Artist, as A Star Is Born. What do you mean bizarre? This is literally like the oldest story in Hollywood.
Everyone
Well-
wants to redo it.
yes, but that's not entirely what the movie
Twitchy
is.
eye roll for you listeners.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I'm trying to sure, guys, sure, Seth Mariah. So, Don Lockwood
Yeah.
is like at this weird, am I a good actor? Am I not? Can I transition? But then they like glaze over that pretty immediately. And it's like, no, it's about Lena Lamont, but it's also about like this, like it just kind of, it jumped everywhere. Debbie Reynolds' character, Kathy Selden, kind of a weird name, honestly, for her character.
I feel like a lot of left turns here, Pat. You gotta land this plane here.
Yeah, sorry. So she comes in, and I like that she was, cutting Don Lockwood at the knees. Like, that was great.
That was great. Good.
But then it was like, but I'm going to go be, like, successful on my own, and then we'll cross paths again. It just felt kind of random, and it did feel a lot like we got to get back to a musical number. Mm-hmm. And then, like, within the context of the movie, there was a little bit of this heightened reality of, like, now we're on a stage, a sound stage, and I actually really liked
You were
how
meant for
weird
me.
and ambiguous. Yeah, like these grand stages that look like they went on forever.
Mm-hmm.
All that was great.
Yeah.
But then we're like, no, we're doing that with this movie. And if you think about what the heck that movie was to watch, the Dancing Cavalier,
Yeah.
Hilarious.
some point somebody got knocked on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't see that. And then they go back to French Revolution.
Sure.
And apparently there's 2 songs. And then there's some weird Broadway
Melody. Yeah.
Broadway melody, and it's like, what is this? What character is this for?
So I'll give you.
And then you go,
that's
why is
legit.
it in the movie in
Well,
the
that's
first
what
place?
that's the
That
one
was
thing
the
that
part
bothers me
was
about the movie
hilariously
is that
stretch. Yeah.
like in White Christmas,
You
where
beat me
there's
to
a
it. Yeah, White Christmas.
nonsensical modern dance number, and you're like, why?
I literally thought
Is it
White
because
Christmas.
this is? And I even looked it up. It was like the 3rd revival of modern dance. It's not like they were just coming out with it. They just kept trying to insert it, and then suddenly there's this whole Sid Charisse number, and you're like, she's not even. She plays the lady with the bobbed hair and the cigarette from Broadway Melody, and then
it's
she
like,
does this huge number with him.
Why?
Yes, it makes no
What's
sense.
with the big... I mean, I actually really loved, and I was like,
I'm
how
sorry.
did they do that scarf
Any
thing?
excuse to get Sid
What
Charisse
was
in here.
that?
Oh yeah,
I
the
pass.
fact that you could get that scarf
Yeah.
scene in is amazing.
Because she was supposed to be Debbie Reynolds' character.
I think they were just showing off.
they're just like, what do we got?
Look
Let's
at
do it
all
all.
the cool stuff. Like, not only can we do stunts, but we're gonna make like the cinematography on a set look really cool too. The acrobatics.
And it was cool. But then at a certain point, you're like, we're 10 minutes of this movie talking about the idea of another movie.
Yeah, it's
That
3
makes no
movies within
sense.
movies. Also, Rita Moreno has a movie going on in it where Debbie Reynolds is supposed to
Oh, yeah, Zelda.
play,
Yeah, that was
play her
great, too.
kid sister, and that movie's never in it. And
It's
also,
like,
Rita
who
Moreno never
cares?
gets to do a number in it. There's no.
Right.
They did have one, and they cut it apparently. But she's the only EGOT winner out of all of these people, and she's the only one still alive.
An
Out
EGOT
of the
winner
whole
for
cast.
Yeah,
everyone.
the last. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the last
she's
EGOT
there
winner?
to...
No, she's just the last one alive from all of Singing in the Rain.
Oh, for sure.
Cast.
I forget, was she seen more than really when she came back and was like, I told you they were dubbing you? I don't remember actually her character being around other than
Just
being mentioned.
when she showed up at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and she's with this like millionaire guy, and like, oh, she's had
Oh,
such
right, the
heartbreak,
vamp.
and hopefully this works out for
Oh,
her.
is she the vamp?
Oh, yeah. That was also so weird.
That was great.
Well, there was
No,
the two,
she wasn't
there
the
was
vamp.
two-
She was the one before the vamp.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That was also so, like, inside baseball, I think,
That
of
was
the
great.
time.
Yeah.
That I was like, what?
It was
is this?
just-
Like, I got it, but I was like,
Yeah.
these are real references to people I don't know, but it's very weird.
And the Beautiful
And
Girls
Hollywood.
number where they have like the months of the year and these costume designs. Like,
She loved all their little vignettes of them standing there. But again, it was like, what movie is this?
So I was
which one of
for?
these does this belong
I was
to?
asking my mom, like, what the heck is this? Because that's exactly what I said when I'm like, why is this
It
happening?
felt like an advertisement for a department store.
And she's like,
Yeah.
it's just like Ziegfeld Follies. And I'm like, what's Ziegfeld Follies?
Yeah, right.
And so then I watched it. I'm like, no, I'm more confused.
Grandma Liz, come on.
Well, because she's like, that's just what it was. Like, it was like cool to show these stylish women. Like, that was the thing. You're already doing a stylish dance.
And like, there's appeal. It was an interesting thing with all the big sets is how voidish. Like, there was no real set,
Yeah.
right? It was like, here's a couple props, and it's kind of ambiguous, which is pretty interesting. And then conversely, like the Singing in the Rain set was an outdoor set,
Yeah,
by the way,
legit.
Mm-hmm.
that they covered in like tarps to make it dark.
Mm-hmm. Had
And
to
then they
fill with
poured
water multiple times.
milky
No.
water.
Milk is a lie. That's
They-
false. False
No.
advertising.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Oh,
They
they did not add a little bit of milk.
They
No.
backlit and frontlit the rain.
You don't need to.
because you can't just do it one way. You have to have it going
Yeah.
both directions. And
'Cause
it was just really
everyone-
good lighting.
Everyone on
The
set.
milk lie is a lie.
Yeah,
the
it's
milk
a lie.
was a lie.
Because everyone on set's like, no, that would be super gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Logistically, that would not be good.
Yeah, that's actually way worse. Because
So did Gene Kelly actually have a fever of 103 degrees.
Yes.
That's
for
legit.
doing that?
Yes,
That's
they
legit.
did.
Yeah.
Then there we go.
Yeah.
There's a fun fact for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that was a pretty immersive. I was so impressed by how far back the camera went with all those scenes.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, it's huge. And I thought, how high are these sprinkler systems?
I was impressed with all.
Because it
yeah,
was
that was
really, it was really raining.
I think it
And-
appeals
and-
to movie makers now just because they showed every single thing you could do at the time. Like, not only are we going to be great dancers and have these huge
pretty neat.
musical numbers and all of this, sets, and it just appealed to the movie makers. They're behind the set,
Yeah.
they're behind the curtain, they're talking about the movie making, they're showing you how silent movies were made and how you could still talk and direct while you're doing those things.
I love that, the whole
it did really occur to me,
transition from you're sad and playing the vibe music and all that.
or how they
I
figured
love
out
that.
how to do it. Like, here's your microphone. The microphone is in the bush. I
It's-
can't make love to a bush.
Yeah, well, that was actually fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it felt like the movie lost sight of that core thing that I thought was amazing
Yeah.
and became like vanity Gene Kelly
Sure.
stuff.
It was a big departure from whatever story they had going, which was a loose, not super strong plot. But it was, I felt like it was fine because everything they did was pretty cool.
It was, yes, it held up because I honestly, every time they danced,
Yeah.
I was so impressed with the dance numbers.
Yeah.
But even that Donald O'Connor thing, make him laugh. It started like, let me cheer up, Lockwell or
Lockwood.
Lockwood.
Don
Okay.
Lockwood.
Can't remember. Don Lockwood. Let me
Donnie.
cheer you up, right? And he starts playing the piano, and then he wanders off to the set, and then it's kind of like
Yeah, it was like a show.
Don's not there anymore.
No,
like
it was
it's
like a
just this
showcase.
guy-
They're showcasing.
and which apparently was exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Gene Kelly was like, "Hey, we need to give you your own piece," and they just kept adding stuff until it was done.
So
And it's just
yeah.
like, what?
I just texted my dance teacher
Wow, okay.
and I said, "How good is the dancing in Singin' in the Rain?" And she's like, "I think it's fabulous, especially the Broadway melody sequence,
Yeah. It's just
Which
so unnecessary.
which is
I
why
agree with parts of it.
which is
just-
not my favorite part, obviously, because the Singin' in the Rain one arguably isn't the best dancing, because even Gene Kelly's like, I literally just made it up with the song, and
But it was
pretty
so
easy.
fun, and the fact that they did it with
It's
all the water.
charming.
It's
Oh
so
yeah,
cool.
No, but visually it's great. But the dancing,
Yes.
So I just want to
Well,
separate
to
the
me,
two.
Good Morning.
Oh yeah.
Good Morning, and then I think
Yes, with
even
the couch sequences.
Moses
Supposes.
Yeah, I think
is,
Good
like,
Morning is the one where
pretty
Debbie
great.
Reynolds
Ooh.
ended up in the hospital afterwards.
Here's a hot
Because
take.
her feet
going
were
up
like
and down the stairs,
bleeding
were crazy.
everywhere.
Yeah, but they still use the first take. That's the funny thing about that. Isn't that hilarious? So hot take: Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly are like Zoolander.
What?
They can only turn.
Go on.
They can only turn left.
Oh.
Oh,
So
Well, they do it so well, no
exactly
one
right.
cares.
So Donald O'Connor's like, oh yeah, I can do it, because the hardest one for them was the one where they're both in step. Was that Moses Supposes?
No, the fiddle and
Well, the fiddle one. No, Moses Supposes is the one where they're doing the spin in the chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
Moses Supposes was the harder one than the fiddle for them, apparently. Which the fiddle one looked harder.
because they were being symmetrical.
Exactly right, and they're doing the exact same thing,
Right.
and jumping up the same height and everything, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And then Donald O'Connor's like, oh crap, I can only turn left.
I am uncomfortable with the direction we
and then
need
Gene
to go.
Kelly's like, oh, quick question. Which way do you turn? He's like, left. Oh, thank goodness. That's the only way I can turn too. I thought that
What
was
a
so
relief.
good. I'm like, oh, Zoolander's legit.
Yeah,
I
But,
can't
those
turn
were-
right.
Again, I'm going to restate. If think about like a modern musical, There are many songs, I hope, a good one, that you'd be like, these are bangers.
Yeah.
The iconic songs in this one aren't even original to this musical, really. I mean, Moses Supposes was original.
No, and the bangers.
And that's like, as a song,
And
you're
Make
like,
Them Laugh.
it's just
Those are the
fun.
only two original songs.
So I would argue, yeah, the music. But see, then that's the problem with White Christmas, then, Pat. I mean, if we're gonna go down this road, that's the same
But White
conversation.
Christmas.
Also with the wonky modern number.
White Christmas.
Yeah, and argue. Yeah, that's the best Christmas movie of all time, maybe.
Yeah,
So,
but again, I guess that gets into like, I don't think it's that good of a musical. It's just a dance spectacular. I'm like blown away by that. Singin' in the Rain is
love
nice.
something. I
The
love
Morning
You Were
is
Meant
nice.
for Me. I love You Are My Lucky Star. I love.
I
Okay.
don't.
here's the question.
This is nostalgia.
I've
These are
got
not
a
good
question,
ones.
guys. What is the definition of a musical? Because is a musical inherently a dance movie as well? It's not like
Not all
No.
of them.
so like
No.
Although they do show.
Most Disney musicals are not dance musicals.
yes, they are.
I would
Hercules
argue.
dances his heart out.
That's the worst Disney
Would
movie
say
on the
most.
planet.
No way. Come on.
Most, although my daughter
Hated
did dance
it.
to
It's
Zero,
better than
Zero to Hero. Or
come on, Zero to Hero's great.
pretty recently.
Danny DeVito, come on, killing it. No,
I don't hate that movie, but I'm
with
you know,
live people
like,
other
it's-
than cartoons. Let's just stick with people here, folks. Let's not compare it to Disney
Okay.
musicals, because even Disney musicals are just remakes of Little Shop of Horrors, as we all know. Because no, I'm not wrong in this.
There's no dance
You
numbers
were
in
wrong
Little
about this.
Shop of
Disney
Horrors.
musicals.
Because the same person who wrote the music for Little Shop of Horrors wrote.
The Alan Menken.
Yep, you got it.
But like that's our modern musical.
Sure,
they
sure.
existed
Before
since
that.
the talkies. Seth.
Yeah. Snow White was not
Little
based
Shop
off
of
of
Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors had Rick Moranis and Steve
My
Martin. And,
argument is
they are
is there
modern
a
era
a
actors.
modern I'm surprised apparently my watch listened to that whole conversation. He just gave me an answer.
You are
And it's
wrong.
Like, Pat's right.
That-
Whatever it is, Pat's right.
I beg to differ with you, Seth.
I was saying, so is there a modern musical that doesn't have dance in it? Oh, the new, because that's what I'm saying. I don't think since
No.
Snow White,
I think dance
don't
dance
dance
is a
anymore.
part of it.
I feel like when you say musical in 2023, you're not thinking Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or the Jazz Singer anymore. You're just not. You're thinking about everything from Singing in the Rain on, which is a song and dance number. And so the music is great whether
And
or
you're
not it's
Broadway,
original.
You want to see dancing.
The music is great whether or not it's original because it did and then the dancing made it next level.
What says musical to me is which one am I willing to just listen to the soundtrack of later on without having to watch the movie? Like,
Yeah.
I would listen to Singing in the Rain soundtrack, although I never have. So I'm a little bit in agreement with Pat there. Like, but also most of the like Rodgers and Hammerstein, like old school ones, like Sound of Music, I don't necessarily listen to that often either. But like Greatest Showman, of course, I've listened to that many times.
Like Mariah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, if it's not Lion King or
No, well,
Aladdin, I'm not listening to it.
But I would say, like, Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor are dance first, right?
Oh,
They're
totally.
triple threats.
Like Fred
They can
Astaire.
sing,
Yeah, 100%.
but like you watch them because when they move, it's mesmerizing. You don't watch because
I
their
think the
voices are
musicals of
beautiful.
that time always had a musical flip side to it, like Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire. I think there was always like yes, there's the dance guy, but then there's also a great singer involved
You got
too.
So I think,
which is to me like, Bing is like a voice.
yeah, that's all he is.
Right?
Well, like with-
you listen
Exactly,
to
right.
Well, and like
That's the
Fred
perfect
Astaire and Audrey Hepburn, she not a dancer,
No.
but she's a great singer and actress.
Right.
So like there was the flip to both, like to certain those big epic movies that are musicals, is that there's not just dance, and this one really is heavy dance. But I still love a lot of the songs.
You can't have one without the other because musicals are just a
Well,
representation.
what are you dancing to?
Exactly right, and musicals are just like the stage. It's the stage on screen. Like that's what musicals are, right? They're the adaptation of the. When you go to a musical on stage, you're probably getting dancing.
Probably.
Oh, of course. But I would say there was a
My
lot
Fair
of
Lady.
dancing in
There's
this
not
movie.
a lot of dancing in My Fair Lady.
But there is dancing.
There's a ballroom dance. That's not the same.
I mean, on Broadway, they're dancing around. But I would say this movie.
Movie. We're talking about movie.
Yeah, that's a movie.
It's
But
a
that's-
Broadway
sure.
review.
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Sorry, not
okay.
Broadway. Shout out, Heather.
Next
My
week,
Fair Lady.
Book of Mormon.
So to me, there was a lot in this movie that there was dancing to music,
Yes.
but not to singing. Right? Like, and so there was a lot of like instrumental dancing
Sure.
There was
more than dancing to singing.
True.
Like a lot of the Broadway melody is not to singing.
No. And
No.
I hate that
It's
number,
like
which
he's
is what makes
strutting
me want to be
around.
like, no, this is ridiculous.
But
Don't
but the
put
ones
in
that
here.
we
Well,
the ones that
or
we
whatever it is.
remember are the funny one, the Good Morning and Singing in the Rain, which are singing and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are the most
Yes.
famous for this movie are the singing and dancing numbers.
Right. But in those numbers, they sing to introduce the song. Good morning. Good morning. Dance, 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 to dance, dance.
So the reason why I'm going
morning,
to
good
argue,
You were meant
so
for,
that's
you
not
were meant
exactly
for me
true.
It's not all dance.
Because when I was watching Good Morning, I immediately knew that they had to record it separately because the taps were on and the singing weren't on because they were singing and tapping at the same time.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And so I knew, I'm like, oh, they couldn't have recorded this live because there's no way
Yeah.
that there's a boom pole following them around. So
That would be really impressive.
that
had
would
there
be
been.
impressive. So
I'm also like, and this is to justify my stuff. I'm watching the trailer going right now on the IMDb's, and it's like, and Sid Charisse.
yeah, she's a big
She
deal.
only stood around.
Yeah,
honestly.
she said
hardly danced.
nothing.
Did
she
you look
said
at her, though?
nothing. She
Gorgeous.
just ran around with a scarf
Doesn't
and
matter.
smoked a cigarette.
Gorgeous. And she was
And walked wonderfully, but she hardly even danced.
Yeah, but she does in Brigadoon. She, you know,
Yeah, no, and not
She's
to
in
take
it
away from
later.
her, but I'm just
But it's
saying,
weird
it
that
is-
she's
it
just
is
a-
dance heavy.
it's weird that she's just a body in this. Like,
Is
doesn't
it?
even have lines.
Do you remember the most?
body.
Do you remember the
Just
most?
a body.
Is it weird?
A good body.
Is
but
it- is
Yeah,
it
she
weird?
apparently learned to smoke. She apparently learned to smoke for this movie.
Yes, that's funny too.
When she like puffed it out her nose, like hardcore smoking.
Oh, they were
Like,
they
whoa.
censored this movie because of her, or like the
Her
censors
lady
were
parts
measuring.
visible.
Yeah.
What?
I didn't see that.
I did not see that.
I know that there was censors in there like measuring her
Rewind.
hemlines and stuff, and then after they leave, Gene Kelly would cut her clothes to get away with.
What?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
you
we're,
didn't get
we're
that.
in the fun fact
That
time.
wasn't the
We're
fun
in
fact for
fact
you.
time.
Yes, there were like censorship
So-
because of all the century stuff, and they would measure, and then they'd leave, and then he'd go slit.
So
I knew they cut a
there-
number because it was too
Yeah.
sensual, but
Oh yeah, the scarf
There-
got banned
so-
in places.
The original outfit, the scarf outfit, I think, was too sheer, and you could see it wasn't her lady parts, but her lady hair.
Oh,
You could see,
that
and
would have
so
been.
they had to
yeah.
like.
That's a
they
lot
had
for
to
the
deal with that.
50s. Yeah.
And then if you'll notice when they're dancing together, there's a hard cut
yeah.
where basically I think they must have got
Awkward
hip
cut.
to hip. Very awkward, super apparent. And they're like, no,
Yep.
too much pelvic to
Yep.
pelvic action
Yeah.
right here.
Yep.
And so they cut it, and it was such like a harsh cut. I thought, like, I honestly went back. I was like, was this a cut, or did HBO or did Max? Yeah, and it was like, nope, that's the movie. Because apparently that was too gratuitous.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ouch.
Ouch. Yep. Yeah, very interesting indeed. But I think, especially since she was originally slated to be the main character, I wonder if they like had to like throw her a bone, like
Kathy or Lena?
Sid Charisse was supposed to be Debbie Reynolds' part.
No, was she meant to be Kathy or was she meant to be Lena? Okay.
So she was supposed to be the original. Also, did you know Debbie and Sid were from the same state?
No.
Both Texas girls. Oh yeah.
I wouldn't have picked either one of them for being from Texas.
For real, right?
Especially Sid Charisse.
I know, you're like, oh, she's probably from Spain or something. No.
She's from Ireland.
She's from Amarillo, Texas. That's it.
The other thing I will say that I love the hat work in this movie. A lot of hat work.
A lot of hat work. Good
Great
hat work.
hat work.
Solid hat work. Hey,
Pull the
bust
hat
out the
out.
hat, Pat. There we go.
A lot of hat work.
Hello.
I'm not going to lie.
We have some rules.
Yes.
You know,
Michael Jackson-esque. I was like, that's the Michael Jackson move.
We got
They
flips,
probably copied
you know.
Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah. That works out
Yeah,
timeline-wise.
that works for me.
I did enjoy the hat work. That again, all the movement stuff. I was
so good.
like blown away by. It just was like, this movie is weird.
So
if you think about it, and I didn't think the music held up that much. Like I am charmed by "Singin' in the Rain" and a couple things. Good Morning, but honestly, after that, I'm like, I don't care.
All
I don't care about any of the other songs.
All around, it's not music. Song-wise, it's not the best of all. But I'm
not going back and listening like I did Moana or Frozen or Encanto.
No. That's
or
true.
You can't compete with
Hamilton.
Disney.
No.
You can't compete with. I love that three out of the 5 you said were all Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
You can't just say, oh, you know.
I got it.
You don't miss.
I can do it.
Hey, those are all playing at my house.
Mormon.
I know, dude.
I don't know. There's a bunch of others.
Did you just say Book of Mormon? Because that's hilarious. That's.
Yeah.
Good morning.
There's some good songs in there.
Hello, my name is Mr. is Elder Price. It's like the same song. Good morning. Good morning.
I say that a lot.
Can we stop Seth from singing and go back to some fun facts?
You're welcome, folks. You're welcome.
I love
fun facts.
Yeah. So R.F. Simpson, the guy who plays the producer or the owner of the studio. Is modeled after the actual producer of Singing in the Rain.
Oh, that's fun.
Freed, who didn't actually know it at the time. But they were using a whole bunch of his lines and mannerisms.
That's great.
And he had no idea they were
kind of a pushover.
Yeah.
That's
I did actually, that was the thing I enjoyed about the movie that I thought they could have done more of was the movie making stuff.
Yeah.
Was pretty fascinating and great.
Yeah.
I loved the director. Frustrated he was every time he came out to help Lena.
Sewing her microphone into something else.
They did that scene almost step by step in Babylon, but with a much darker twist.
Or her dialect coach. Round tones.
Yes.
I can't stand them.
All people were apparently based off real people, real directors, and so that part of it's like pretty fun, even though I don't know who these people are.
They made the newest Downton Abbey movie and had basically that same storyline. They're turning this into a talkie because the jazz singer did so well, and they have this girl with a horrible voice.
Yep.
But yeah, interesting.
You should have seen who we had in here before Mariah.
Yeah.
She was great, except she had a terrible voice.
Yeah.
Well,
lucky me.
We're just dubbing her.
She's also a cousin, so let's not.
It's awkward.
Let's not name any names.
Super awkward.
Sorry about her. Sorry, didn't make the cut.
So other hot takes on this. Gene Kelly directed it. Why have we not talked about that yet?
I mentioned it.
Co-directed.
Yes, but that's...
So to me, obviously, he choreographed it. I don't know how much he directed.
So the way Stanley Donen said, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Donen correctly, but he said that Gene was basically the actors and the choreography. So he'd be telling the actors what to do and the choreography. So he was kind of on that level. But then the cameras and the technical stuff would be Stanley, Which Stanley also, how do you say his last name, by the way? Is it Donen?
Oh, but he
Donen?
did a great job if he was the one behind the cameras.
Yeah, no, he killed it. And it's not the first or last one they did together because they work really well together and have done that double directing a couple times. So I thought that was kind of impressive, like to have that. So the relationship Gene and Stanley had together actually were very similar to the characters that Gene and Donald were playing. So that's actually kind of realistic in the fact that those two actually have that similar relationship. So that's another kind of like a reality. Because let's be honest, this movie is kind of just a quick, hey, write a script so we can use these songs and dance to them. That's the irony of it. The fact that it turned out so well is kind of a surprise. It's like, yeah, Gene Kelly's good at his craft, and the songwriter was good at his craft, and it just happened to work out. And then it worked out so well that this is now the greatest movie of all time. So Pat, you're not wrong in the fact you're like, it's kind of a weird plot. Yeah, they wrote that around the songs just to hopefully make it work. And then but
it felt like that.
But
that's right. It got so meta because they're trying to fix the film by adding music to it. Like it all felt like, yep, these are layers we're unraveling about how this movie exists.
I wonder.
And it was like, again, I can't imagine that the Dancing Cavalier made any sense at all.
No.
Like, imagine this number that had to do with some guy coming to Broadway for the first time.
Yeah.
When are you playing that in the Dancing Cavalier?
Yeah, it was like we're gonna make Errol Flynn a silent to talkie guy who also sings and dances, which he didn't do any of those things.
So I think about this with honestly a lot of the musicals of that era, that they just had the songs and they just kind of ride them around. Because I feel that way about White Christmas and Holiday Inn. I feel like they have the songs and then they just kind of write the plot around them.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and White Christmas ended up a lot more PC and
well, you know, the Abraham number was a little rough.
Oh, I do want to call out unfortunate blackface pretty early on in the movie.
Yes, good call. We're recording this on.
Address that.
We are recording this on Juneteenth, by the way, just for those folks.
Yes,
that's right.
Every Juneteenth. Pretty unfortunate blackface. As we're walking through the silent film era, there was a jungle-themed adventure movie.
You're right.
And people in a pretty stark blackface going on.
That was actually one.
That's not ideal.
There was actually the initial ending. Here's another fun fact. The initial ending would have included a premiere for Lena's film Jungle Princess, in which her dialogue would consist solely of grunts. So that would have, helped her voice career. Also, Lena and Cosmo would have gotten married in the original ending to this. Story.
Oh, they were not working toward that.
I'm really glad they left these out. Oh dear.
That was the other thing that I guess I was sort of interested in was the dynamic with Cosmo and Dawn. Like Cosmo felt like a pretty integral part of all this. And again, by the end, the RF or whatever was like, remind me to give you a raise and writing credit, and you're the whatever. But it was like,
have a cigar.
Yeah.
Up until this point, like this guy's just been like hanging on to Don's coattails, even though he's this massive force for it. It felt very weird.
It was like the 10 things I hate about you best friend guy who's like a total dweeb and is just trying to ride the coattails. Like, I'm going to hit on the girls. I'm going to get you in a movie.
But also he seemed like the one who was the wisest to all the things going on.
Yep, he was.
Sure. And the most talented.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, I feel like he just didn't quite get his due. I thought he would be in the movie at some point. Like, why isn't Cosmo being cast?
Because he was supposed to be just playing the piano for the silent version, and
right. But then obviously that changed. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird.
Weird thing, Donald. Speaking of Mr. Donald O'Connor, he was supposed to be an answer to Mickey Rooney.
I thought he was the answer to Danny Kaye.
No, He was supposed to be because
Oh,
he
he
even
was
kind of
a
looks like
child.
Mickey
He was
Rooney.
a child. He was a child actor too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
So-
was the competing.
I thought that was MGM's
Place.
answer to
Yeah.
Mickey Rooney. So there you go.
Not a great answer. I mean, although I kind of like him more than Mickey Rooney.
Well, that's not
in a
hard.
lot of
Well,
instances.
we didn't hear him say things as an old man, so
It's true. Mr. He
got a
didn't
little
play
bit of
Mr.
nostalgia
Yunioshi later on in life.
Oh, that's rough.
yeah.
Mickey.
Yeah. So what are we?
Oh, where do we land on
What
this
are
one?
the takeaways?
I know. So the takeaway is this is always on the top movies of all time. Now, in our books, I've seen a lot of musicals kind of in the fact that I feel like I've been around them. But is this in fact the best musical movie of all time?
It's not my favorite, but I do feel like of all the musicals, it's right up there cinematography wise. So it depends on what you're looking at it through.
Yeah.
Like no
How much later did,
song wise, no.
Man,
I mean,
it's
I would pick Sound of Music or South Pacific.
It's hard because
I was just going to say, how much later did Sound of Music come out? 1965.
13 years later.
Yeah.
That's the
So I would
crazy
say that
part.
had the spectacle.
White Christmas
so
was
where-
only 4 years after this.
So
Okay,
the one that I think
This had more interesting cinematography than Sound of
And
Music.
it's
or
one
than,
and
White
it's one of the
Christmas.
first ones too,
well, the one that I
It
think
revitalized musicals
For
at
sure.
the time.
Oh, for sure.
Musicals
For
were not
sure.
popular.
So it might have just be like the standard kind, like, this is what kicked it all off.
well, I think the number one of all time should be The Wizard of Oz
It's great.
because it's
What year was Wizard of Oz?
1939.
And it
And
also
it
transitions
still
black and white
plays.
to color.
It's so good. Yes.
And all of the songs are great.
Yeah. I think
Not a lot of dancing.
no. And that's the problem.
Some,
it
but not a lot.
I think Singing in the Rain
It's
is
really
the,
just
is
skip
the
walking.
most it's the most
Sound of
broad
Music, honestly, doesn't have that much dancing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of puppety.
lot there are a lot of other questionable things too. But if you're thinking of a musical like
More
this-
Nazis than you'd expect.
well, a few, that's true.
A lot of drunk munchkins.
Shoot. So, if we're thinking of musicals as like stage productions to movies, then Singing in the Rain,
Yeah.
I think, wins. But if we're thinking of musicals in the Hollywood sense, I would go with Wizard of Oz because I think of musicals like Singing in the Rain and even, frankly, Disney ones, because even the cartoons are freaking dancing in those ones, to be honest. But they're that musical number. It's the stage formula on screen. That's what a musical seems to be now. But if we're just talking about singing throughout the movie, then I gotta go with the original, with like the classic that's more quotable than Singing in the Rain, which is Wizard of Oz. But Singing in the Rain, my goodness,
I think Singing in the Rain, if you compare it to all the other musicals, it appeals to the snobbiness because it appeals to movie makers and actors and cinematographers. I think it appeals to more people, not just the people that like want a feel good song and dance movie.
Sure.
I think you get more, not as much as you want, Patrick, but
Yeah.
I mean, I get where you're coming from for sure. I agree with a lot of what you say.
The other one that maybe, Pat, you would
Give
like
it a lot
better
of credit.
would be West Side Story, because that seems to actually be a coherent story.
Yeah, that's
And there's
true,
no
but
weirdness.
I don't honestly.
You mean Romeo and
mean, there's-
Juliet?
Yeah, it's a song.
Yeah, I don't love that many songs in that movie either. But to me, I think what I appreciate
At least
about
Rita
this movie
Moreno
was,
gets
like,
to do a couple of numbers in that one.
Yes, she gets some good stuff. I appreciate kind of the big swings they took, both being pretty meta, which I don't know how often that had been done at the time, which I really enjoyed. And there was insane choreography, perfectionist level, cruel Gene Kelly level choreography, and then pretty great camera sweeping visuals. It was a beautiful movie. it just was kind of a weird story.
Yeah, I think
And
the
I didn't
humor
love the
appealed.
music.
I think the humor appealed to me a lot in this, more so than many
It's very charming.
classic music. Like there's just, yeah, it's really clever.
A lot of little jabs and asides.
Sure.
I enjoyed that
Yeah,
a great deal.
it was like spoofing,
It had the
spoofing
rhythm
before
of
there was
Maltese Falcon
spoofing.
in some ways.
Yeah,
Very fast. We got to get a lot of dialogue out real quick.
yeah,
And people are a little bit snappy. I enjoyed that. It just, I don't think it all held together. And honestly, as a musical, I'm not gonna put on any of these songs and re-listen to them.
I'm totally gonna do
Like
it.
right now.
All my,
Although-
all
But I
on the
will
way
sing.
home. On the way
Good
home.
Morning
I
was
sing Good
great.
Morning a lot.
Good Morning's
and
great.
I will sing in the rain.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know.
You were meant for me waltzing with somebody.
Two timeless
Yeah.
songs
I'm not doing that.
is okay for me. I don't know about you guys, but two timeless songs seems to work.
It's not
out.
bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad for sure.
Doesn't have the record
Yeah,
sales
I'd say
of White Christmas, but it's up there.
it's a feel-good, entertaining thing. I think there was some great choices. Some really like Gene Hagen's Lena was super great. Like
She was
that
good.
voice and performance was wonderful, and the dancing was crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I recommend it along those lines for sure.
Yeah, and
It's
this
just from a musical perspective, I'm like, that's fine.
well, and the surprise, like where he drinks himself to death at the end, is the really surprising part
Yeah,
of this whole
yeah.
movie.
I think we
Oh,
should
Star is
definitely.
Born.
I think we should definitely mention the Kubrick
Oh,
involvement
What?
for. So in
That's a fun fact.
A Clockwork Orange, one of the most disturbing scenes of that movie is to Singing in the Rain.
No, that's forgot about
Oh,
that.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
So we've got
There
that,
you go.
and
Got
then
the
we've
Kubrick
got Buster
connection.
Keaton.
I think it's
Reference
I'm
in
pretty
this
sure it's
one,
Or
too.
Buster.
Buster Douglas.
Buster Douglas. Ah, you beat me to it. I gotta pour one for that one.
You
All
guys-
right.
Hey gang, Pat here from How to Be a Movie Snob. Are you looking for a reliable videography studio to produce high quality content for your business? Well then look no further than Make It Known Media. Their experienced team specializes in interviews, commercials, documentaries, and educational content. Whether you need to create promotional material or want to capture important moments, they have the expertise to deliver exceptional results. Contact them today to learn more about how they can help your business make its mark. I would say it is a little snobby
Yes.
in that it brought back musicals as a viable cinematic form at the time. It's meta, which led to a lot of, do you have the player? Do you have Babylon without this movie? Like maybe, but it was pretty early on with the idea of talking about making movies within movies.
I don't know. I feel
And
like they
it's
started that way.
iconic. Like, this is, again, like if you watch any Oscars broadcast and there's any amount of montages, this will
It's
be
always
in
on
there.
it. It's
Yeah.
always in it.
Yep.
No, it's the best.
And so it's like, you're going to see North by Northwest, you're going to see Cary Grant running, and then you'll see Gene Kelly dancing in the rain.
I got a new
And
question.
You need to watch it.
I got a new question
You gotta
then.
watch it.
Is
Okay.
this the best dancing movie of all time? Not is this the best
Oh.
musical, but is this the best dancing movie of all time?
I think
I
there's
don't-
some Fred and Ginger that would compete.
It would. I agree.
But I really love like the athleticism in this. That's very different.
This has some hardcore long take
And
dancing.
physical humor. I think that
Yeah.
it's different because there's so much slapstick. I just jumped through a wall and
Oh. And I did 2 flips before that.
yeah. The fact that you could
so
do
I
all of that
watch-
in one.
I watch a decent amount of dancing
It's like
and a decent amount of tap dancing with my daughter's dancing.
Wait. She
it's
does
like
tap too?
Buster
Oh.
Keaton meets Fred Astaire.
Buster Douglas.
No.
I would say, like, compared to what I see, the amount of physical exertion needed, like, because none of the dancing is quiet. It's huge. Their body postures are crazy. They're jumping over their own legs.
Yeah.
They're jumping up and down vertical. Like, it is insane levels of athleticism and choreography. Like, I doubt there's harder dancing captured on screen.
Did Kira
Like
watch this with you?
I don't know if you guys saw RRR. No,
I did see
will
RRR.
rewatch dancing. Like, they're dancing their butts off in RRR. Like,
Amazing.
I think in terms of exertion, maybe there's some tie. But man, the quality of this dance is so good.
Yeah.
It's great.
Is it
I don't-
better
I
than
don't- I would
Swing
say yes.
Kids? Is it better than Swing Kids?
Ooh, but the plot's not
Or
as good
Step
as
Up
Swing
2.
Kids.
Or Step Up 2.
Man. I want to rewatch Swing
I haven't
Kids.
seen. I probably have not seen enough dancing movies, but
Uh,
I'd be hard pressed
do I-
to find
do I-
something.
do
If
I-
we're
do
not
I-
talking
do
about
I-
Breaking or Stomp the Yard, then we're not having a conversation.
Seth is just Googling
Breaking
lists
2,
of best
I'll
dancing
watch
movies ever.
Boogaloo.
Breaking 2 is better. I agree with that.
Swing Kids is the best all-around movie.
You know the crazy thing? It's not on these lists of dance movies because the dance movies don't include all these tap dancing movies. Isn't that messed up?
Super.
Well, and I assume they don't.
Oh, I take it
There's not
back.
as much singing in some of those.
Do you think? I think Shirley Temple would probably be able to compete with some of this.
IMDb does have
That
Singing in the Rain
girl
number
could
one.
dance.
That girl
She
could
was a
dance.
dancer and had the athleticism to do it.
Well, like,
As a 3-year-old.
she just was not. Yeah, she was never old enough to do as many things as Jean and Donald
Her
did.
career was
Debbie.
ending. Her career is ending before Debbie
She
Reynolds
became an
started.
ambassador, yeah.
Yeah.
I found a list that had Napoleon
Or you
Dynamite
saw-
number 5. That's so
Okay.
good.
List.
List.
Stop
Interesting.
Googling.
That's
We
an
need,
interesting
we need to
list.
make our own list for all these things because they're hilariously bad. IMDb has Singin' in the Rain number 1, and Rotten Tomatoes has Singin' in the Rain number 1 for dance movies. So there we go.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I don't disagree with that.
And it's ahead of Red Shoes and Black Swan on 1, and it's ahead of
You know, I think another fun fact too.
You Got Served.
Sorry. is that Judy Garland was also up for this
Yes, she was.
role, and I'm so glad she wasn't picked for it
Oh,
because
for
it was
sure.
just like she wasn't that athletic. Of course, she had the singing down, but
He could have sang.
and June Allison too, who I don't know that either was a good dancer at all or a good singer, but she was a good actress. But I'm glad they picked Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, no, I think they did a good job.
I think
She's the
Gene
sassy
Kelly
level,
did a good job
athletic level.
picking the people for
Yeah.
the movie that he picked.
For sure.
Because he handpicked some of
Now-
these people and stuck his neck out for some of these people.
Arguably, it was John B. Mayer who picked Debbie Reynolds. That's
Mm-hmm.
the argument because Debbie says that it was Mayer, not Gene Kelly, and then Gene Kelly said that he picked her.
Right.
And Debbie Reynolds is like, "Yeah, you did. Sure, you
And
did."
at the
buddy."
time, she was a gymnast who'd been discovered in a
Yes.
beauty pageant and landed
Miss
a couple
Burbank.
of small movie roles.
Miss Burbank, nothing to shout out.
Well,
So-
but the physicality, the gymnastics, let her be strong enough to deal with all this stuff.
No, for real.
And
If you can
her
do
voice
gymnastics,
was young, which of course they replaced, but she could have sang.
Here's the crazy part. What if the dad is super unathletic, but the son is super gymnastics athletic? Is that possible? Is that a big...
I've seen it. I've seen it before. I've seen it.
You wouldn't know personally. I haven't experienced that personally.
I've heard of it
Because
though.
my
Oh, that's
gymnast
great.
dancing children
I know.
are
it's-
just a reflection of my talents.
Oh,
But
are
I
they?
bet that's
You know,
true for
I
other
missed
people.
that part of your high school career. That's super weird. I must have
Don't
missed
worry
that.
about it.
Okay.
I can still do a good cartwheel. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't even try that.
I'd like
That's
to
an
see that
injury
right
waiting
now.
to happen.
Would I see stars after? Yeah.
Yeah,
but
oh,
I
100%.
could do it.
Okay, so is this, for movie snobdom, is this necessary? Yes or no? Mariah?
Yeah. Yes.
Pat?
Yeah, I talked myself into it. Yeah.
Why, Mariah? Go.
Because it is a musical, but it's got so many other facets to it
Nice.
that appeal to the masses.
Love it.
And the snobbery. It's got some snobbery to it that you don't Originally, I don't think people thought in this conversation that it would appeal to the snobbery, but I think it does.
Okay, Pat, go.
So I think because of its time and place in movie history,
There we go.
that it was sort of revitalized the idea that musicals could be popular. I think that has a thing. The meta element.
Time.
And then Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, like iconic movie for both of them. And these are songs that it's one of those things, like, you need to know where these things come from to be a snob.
Sure.
And stuff came from this movie.
Yeah, I think it's the least. I still think it's the least snobby movie we've done, next to the Christmas one we did. With
It's a Wonderful
It's a Wonderful Life. That's the least snobby movie we did. But this is the second least snobby movie we did.
It's not as snobby as it could be.
Yeah.
It's snobbier because it's just older.
But for a musical,
Right, like-
how snobby are musicals?
You need to know Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire. And I
Sure.
don't think, and you could watch
or you could listen to the song Vogue by Madonna because they're in it
You're right. Well,
right next to each other.
Or you
I feel like he was just quoting them.
I feel like you could watch Singing in the Rain.
They had style. They
And-
had grace. Hayworth.
She's still going. She's still going.
Betty Davis. We love you.
I feel like you don't have to watch this whole movie. I feel like you'd only need to watch a couple of musical numbers. You could watch American Paris, which came out the year before, which is arguably a more snobby pick and
better
always
for
on the top
him.
5.
Better
so
for him.
Is this necessary? No, but you need to know who Gene Kelly is and how good he dances. So my argument, this is necessary only because if there's no other movie to watch Gene Kelly in, this is one of them. Because sorry, Debbie Reynolds, but Gene Kelly's more important.
It's
in
probably
the,
the
history of
best pick
musicals.
for Gene Kelly, although
American Paris is up there though. Like if
I
you
love Brigadoon.
Well, that
and
one,
Brigadoon, yeah. I'm just
that one got 6 Academy Awards and Best Picture, so in theory, that should be the more
should be the
snobby
be- exactly
for him,
right.
For him, it was a better movie.
So it's hard because
But they do not show any shots from that in any Oscar montage.
No.
They show Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
sometimes they show the one where he's Wait, isn't the American Paris where he dances with Jerry? Which is the one where he dances with
The
Jerry?
cat? Or the mouse?
The mouse. Yes, it's a cat and mouse game with you.
That's a good question.
Yeah, because
Gene
that
Kelly.
one is shown
Research team?
quite often. Research team, go. So my
Acres
argument.
Away.
Oh, Acres Away. Yeah.
Isn't that the one
What's
with
that?
Frank Sinatra?
It could be.
That is the one with Frank Sinatra.
Nice
Yeah.
job, Mariah.
It's a good movie.
Which,
it's an
um,
entertaining movie, not a
so
snobby movie.
This gets
No.
into the Debbie Reynolds thing. Gene Kelly felt like he could teach Debbie Reynolds because he was able to teach Frank Sinatra how to dance.
Oh yeah, he was way older than all of them.
You know what? But still,
He
not
was
as
on
old.
his way out.
Not as old as his final wife. So let's just put it that way. Oh, you guys, you know the.
No, I don't know this.
Oh, Gene Kelly's last wife.
Don't
was
look up these
in her
end of life
20s when he
facts.
was in the 60s or something. Something like that. Yeah.
Well, it's just reflecting the beginning of this movie, where these young ladies are finding rich aristocrats,
Gene Kelly's like, that's a good
and
idea.
I'm sure it's for love. I do love that. Pretty great that they're making fun of these situations that he just later falls into. It's pretty wonderful.
Guys,
Irony.
I pulled up the musical film Wikipedia page, and the first picture is of Singing in the Rain, and the second picture is of
West Side Story.
Nope. Pat? You already looked it up, did you?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh, that would be great. No, it's the one.
Oh,
No, that'd be good though.
Camelot.
Wizard of Oz, the second one that came up. So that's
okay,
hilarious. Yeah,
of course. You set us up for that.
What
I
about
just
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
That was way late.
But isn't it on the
musicals?
lists?
Not Moulin Rouge is above it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd agree.
For musicals?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a musical. Or
Moulin
Willy
Rouge
Wonka? Is it Willy
barely.
Wonka?
It doesn't matter. You're wrong.
Cheer up, Charlie.
It's Willy Wonka. No, is it Charlie? I forget.
I've got a golden ticket.
Yeah.
You know, I was just listening to that soundtrack
Step
in my
outside.
car.
We're gonna have a conversation.
I was just listening to that soundtrack in my car. Actually, you know what I did listen to?
Ask around,
not.
you'll find out.
I did actually listen to the Primus version of that soundtrack, so that I can't actually. That's actually true because Primus did cover that entire
Get
album.
out. Get out.
It's so I can't hate that. I can't
It
hate
was,
that.
I believe it was Willy Wonka, Mariah.
Thank you. Willy Wonka. The Johnny Depp is
Why
Charlie.
am I the only one who sings? Do you guys have no heart or soul?
Charlie's the book,
Yeah.
and that's the Johnny Depp one.
The Pure Imagination song is dope, though. I like that song.
Come with
Yes.
me and you'll see.
Listen to the Les Claypool version. It is nutty.
I never thought that I could.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It's weird how our brains interpret these things as musical.
I'm
Or not.
telling
To me,
you.
that's just
Loompa.
Willy Wonka. I know.
Doo.
Now you sing it.
Are you serious?
We gotta land this
The
plane, folks.
Candyman
We are going. We're
yeah.
going off.
Who can
It's-
take a sunrise?
I want it.
Sprinkle
I want
with
it now.
dew. Yes.
Okay, maybe it's the best musical of all time. I take it
I
back.
want to wrap it all up in my pocket.
Guys,
It's my
we
bar of
haven't
chocolate.
even talked about
Give it to me.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. All right.
Yeah.
You have to see it live, though. It's
Okay.
not. It's not about
Okay.
the movie.
Throw stones at the
Drinks. I mean, Pat's just going to pick another IPA. But Mariah, what drink is this? Pat has no.
I feel like it's
How dare you?
probably like a. It's a hard A drink,
Okay, go on.
like a classic bourbon on the rocks, or a.
God, no, this is like a sweet wine that everyone can enjoy.
Manhattan or something.
Oh, Manhattan's cool, just because like everyone knows it.
Well, yeah, Manhattan Melody. It's a
champagne.
Manhattan Melody. Manhattan.
I don't even know what that is.
Champagne.
Oh,
I'm gonna say
champagne.
it's a champagne.
do
That's a good one.
They do drink
Champagne's
the
good.
champagne.
Yeah, champagne's a good one. I might agree with Pat on this one. After I gave you crap for just saying IPA for
Pat's
every
just
drink.
gonna pick a loser drink.
Well, that deterred me from saying an IPA. I want a champagne.
There is an IPA bubble by Frame.
Yeah, that's true.
Sparkling
I mean,
IPA.
Cream.
Maybe I won't even say champagne. I'll have it champagne and orange juice,
A mimosa.
a mimosa, because everyone can have it any time of day,
Even kids.
even children.
Brings the sunshine even when it's raining.
Got orange juice.
Okay, this has been a good one. Anything else before we leave the folks? I think we've
I think
gone
we've
it,
said enough.
guys. It's
Good
still
morning. Good morning.
okay to sing in the
Nice.
rain. It's okay to sing in the rain, guys. Whether or not the plots make sense, it's still good. Still good. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. This has been a wonderful production of Make It Known Media, and we had hosts Mariah, Pat, and myself, Seth. Thanks for listening to How to Be a Movie Snob, and keep watching movies. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Very
Bye.
professional ending.
True.